so she's rebelling against it. So that's kind of another form of the cockroaches, these things kind of scurrying around that we didn't expect. And we just need to stick with it. That's one of the big problems I see for families, that they've tried a bunch of different things and it didn't work, and they're like, well, we tried that for a day, but it just made things work. We did that for 2 weeks, and it wasn't working, so we just abandoned it, or he wasn't listening to us, and so they kind of inadvertently train their kids that they're a liar, that we're not going to stick with this, and no, you don't have to take it seriously because we're not going to stick to it anyways, and it's not that important because we're not going to stick to it. And they kind of just see it as another phase of, oh, mom, dad, trying this again. I'm just going to up the ante and do what I've always done, only worse, so that I get them to see that this isn't working. Sometimes they do that at Cherry Gulch too. They try to make so slow progress to show, mom, dad, it's not helping me. This isn't working me. This is just making me worse, and I'm around these other kids, and this isn't going to do me any good. And just take me home. I promise I'll do better. And so that's kind of what we mean by that piece. Let's go. I'm trying to figure this out here. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to have another session where you can ask more questions and things, and I'll go into greater detail if you have specific questions about something about the program. If you have some questions about how to implement it with your family or your neighborhood, then we'll do that as well. Since I've got just a few more minutes and then I'm going to end, so I wanted to highlight again, so some of the difference between Cherry Gulch versus home well-being. You'll make up your own chores at home. You'll make your own family rules at home, which might be different than ours. There might be different expectations, and that's okay. You'll do the family meeting just like we do, or similar. You won't have the beads necessarily here. And you won't have the levels, right? You don't have beads and levels, and you won't necessarily have a student store. If you want to, say, have things that a boy can buy, maybe your son really wants this new fancy BMX bike that costs $2,000. You can assign a value to that bike in tokens, so that might, and maybe you really want him to have that bike and you'd like him to be able to earn it. So you decide, okay, instead of having that thing cost 1,000 tokens or 2,000, however much your tokens are worth, you might say, son, that's just 500 tokens, or that's 250 tokens, and you can get this cool thing you've wanted, which kind of helps a little bit with them being savings-minded too, to buy something that they want. Or it might be little things, like it might be some tokens to have his friends come over for the weekend, or to join the family on a trip to an amusement park, or to go out on the ski boat, or whatever it might be, to little bitty things like he really loves red vines, so I'm going to get some red vines, or like I said, the scoop of ice cream, or the video game playing time, or the TV viewing time, or maybe it's some new iTunes downloads that he can get for tokens. So you can just be really creative. The therapist here can help you think of that. Your son and daughter, or whoever there is at the house with you, they can think of those things, because the idea is that just because we've got some rewards doesn't mean that that's going to be motivating to anybody. Like here at Cherry Gulch, sometimes we have these L5R cards, or Pokemon cards, or Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff like that. None of those things motivate me at all. It's not something I care about. So if I had if that was my reward, was I'd get Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I don't like Yu-Gi-Oh, then it's not going to be motivational for me. So we want to find something that he's interested in doing. It might be that if he gets enough tokens, he can go and go on a solo trip to visit his sister in college and work that out with her, or go see his uncle and aunt for a week-long trip on his own. So there's lots of fun things like that that you can kind of be creative and come up with. But you won't have the beads at home is basically what I was saying. And then other than that, it's really pretty similar. You can decide how important these different things to you are. Like hitting someone is probably a really big deal. That's going to be a lot to you, whereas maybe if he just interrupts your conversation, that's lesser, so that might only be one card. Or having poor hygiene, you can kind of put a number of cards you'd have to pull on that. So that's an overview of how the family kind of positive parenting with a plan works, the family rules, the family version. And again, the hope is that you'll implement this at home. Your son will see, geez, I do have to do well here at Cherry Gulch to show that I can do well at home, because my parents are doing the same thing that Cherry Gulch is doing. And even when you go home for a home visit, he'll see, oh, they've got chores, they've got expectations, they've got family rules in place, right? They've got the rack chips and the tokens and the family rules all in place. And so I need to kind of keep doing what I've been doing at Cherry Gulch. Going home is not just a vacation. It's a a working home visit, not just a vacation where I get to forget about all this stuff. If you do that, you'll kind of breed bad habits in your son, where he's thinking, oh, at Cherry Gulch I have to follow the rules, but Mom and Dad, they don't make me follow the rules. So a key to this is that Mom and Dad grow a spine. Mom and Dad have to be consistent. They've got to follow through on those consequences. They've got to follow through on the rules. They've got to make sure that Johnny knows that this is the way it is, that we're in charge, that your mother and I agree on this. And if you don't agree to follow our family rules, then you won't be coming home for your visit. And it's best, if possible, to have the family rules all set up, to have him see kind of what's on there so that he knows and agrees to follow those rules before that home visit. So it just makes a lot of sense, both from a research basis of generalizability. The more we get the parents involved in this, the more generalizable it is back home, the more what the boy is learning here is going to transfer back home. So we very much appreciate you choosing Cherry Gulch. We appreciate the trust that you've placed in us. We appreciate the fact that you're willing to take a look at the family dynamic and look at ways that you can do things different to allow your son to be more successful at home, because ultimately that's going to make us look good too. That's going to make us have better outcomes here at Cherry Gulch if we can give away the program. And that's basically what we're trying to do, is we're replacing bad habits with good habits or healthy habits, and we're trying to teach the parents what's working for their son here and how to implement that at home. Now, some of you might go through stages where it's like, geez, this isn't working. Oh, my kid is having so much trouble. He's getting all these healthy habit cards, and that means that it's just going to take longer for your boy. But it doesn't make any sense to send your boy home when he's getting 50 healthy habit cards in a week. We expect a lot better behavior than that, and we hope that you do too. So anyways, thanks again. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you have any questions, you can maybe even email me at drsapp@cherrygulch.org. That's DRSAPP@cherrygulch.org, or you can send it to info@cherrygulch.org. And if you have questions that come up, by the way, if you don't have one of the books, I'd suggest you get it. If you had, I bought quite a few more, so you can let me know if your family hasn't received at least one copy of the book, and I go ahead and send you a complimentary copy, or maybe I'll just send it home with your son when he goes home for Thanksgiving. That's coming up here quickly, but I do have some books now to give out. If you don't like reading, there's a 6-hour presentation that Dr. Johnson does, basically using the slides that he gave me here, that you can get and go into more details that way as well. So that's it for now. Thank you all for tuning in, and you have a good evening. Bye.